around doing nothing, browsing TikTok. That's not gonna help you walk in purpose. That's helping the owners of TikTok walk in purpose. That's feeding them to make more money. Every time you browse, you make them more money. So you cannot say that you want to be who God has called you to be and then turn around and do nothing all day. You can't do it. And you can't turn around and make excuses when it gets harder. You just got to step up to the challenges. I was telling someone this week, I said, you got to be flexible. God is trying to teach you to be flexible in this season of your life. Because what happens is all of us become rigid when it's like we get uncomfortable. It's almost like your booty cheeks squeeze up and you don't want to embrace what God is saying because it's like, this is uncomfortable, Apostle. I don't really like it. Well, it's going to be uncomfortable the rest of your life. I don't know anyone that's called to greatness where they step into it and they're like, oh my God, this is so easy breezy. Every time you step into another level, there are new challenges with that level. And the quicker you learn how to embrace it, I'm not saying it's going to always feel good, but the quicker you learn how to embrace it, the better off you are. Because what happens is you set the enemy up to know, no matter what happens, I'm not backing down. No matter what happens, I'm not backing up. No matter what happens right now, I'm not going nowhere, fam. I'm here and I'm staying in purpose. But see, every time you back, you start whining and crying and it's just so hard. I don't know how to do it. All you're showing the enemy is you're not ready for where you said you wanted to be. And all he does, and I say this all the time, but I think sometimes we don't realize, all you do is let the enemy know that it's working. So he has no human instincts. He has no human emotions. He does not feel bad when you're crying. He is not a human. And the more we realize that, the easier we can see our enemy for who he is. When you're crying, a lot of us think the devil backs up. We think like he's like, oh my God, Alicia's over there just whining. No, he's like, cool, it's working, fam. Y'all, come on. More people attack her. More demons come. That's all that does. He has no human connection. So he does not feel remorse like you do. Even the most angriest of persons as humans still feel some type of remorse when they murder, when they do something, because the human part of you never leaves, right? So once the demon leaves that caused you to murder, you start, what do they do in jail? They start wanting to commit suicide because they feel bad. Because now that demon's gone, that murder demon, that anger, rage demon is gone. And the human part of them kicks in, right? So it is when we look at the enemy. The enemy does not have that. So there's no part of him that's like, oh my God, she's down there whining. She's down there complaining about God not moving on her behalf. Sure, I'll just back up now. No, he doesn't. If anything, he probably puts his foot on your neck because it makes him feel like you are already low. What do you have to do? You have to face the challenges. You have to face the uncomfortability. You have to face the things that you don't want to face. And you have to do things differently. You cannot do things the way you normally do them. You have to do things different. So if I'm used to being rigid and I'm used to being like, every time something hard comes, I always just be like, oh, this is just too much. Then in this season, I can't do that. The easiest thing you can do is pray, God, give me grace. God, give me strength. God, help me to be able, I'm not backing up, just help me. Remember, that's what the man prayed when he realized he had unbelief. He said, Father, help me in my unbelief. He didn't fake it in front of Jesus. He wasn't like, no, I ain't got no unbelief in him. He was like, cool, now help me in my unbelief. When you are struggling in a new season and you find yourself going underwater and you find yourself like, okay, this is really a lie, you've got to ask the Lord for help. See, we sing those songs like they're cute. The righteous cry out, the Lord deliver. See, that stuff sounds cute, but you don't apply it. So it's like, you are the righteous. How are you righteous? The Bible says you are made righteous through Christ Jesus. You're not righteous in yourself. You're filthy. But in him, you are made righteous. So you have the ability to cry out, and the Lord will deliver. You have the ability to cry out, and the Lord will step in. You have the ability to say, God, thank you for the promotion, but I need help. God, thank you for the more money, but I need help. God, thank you for elevating me spiritually, but I need some help in where you've elevated me. And your ability to say, God, I need help, is God's ability to step in. It's God's ability to send his angels. But a lot of times when we get promoted, it's like we just start frantic. We just start having anxiety. We start like, this is just too much. I can't do this. This is overwhelming. No, if God elevated you, you can handle it. But you can't handle it. And I'll prove it by the natural, and I'm going to get into my thing. I'm going to talk about financial planning today. I'll prove it by way of the natural. When you go from middle school to high school, it is alarmingly different. When you go from high school to college, it is alarmingly very different. If you've been to a four-year school, you know it is way different than high school. High school, you got like 1,200. Well, in my day, we had one lunch line. Now they got like 12 lines, and Asian, and American, and Chick-fil-A. We didn't have all of that when I was in school. But they got all these choices, right? And then they have a set time that they go to lunch, right? And then if they're running late, what happens? A bell rings. You're late, right? If they're late a couple times, they get a note, and then they go to the principal, right? So from middle school to high school, they're still babying you. They're still watching over you. There's still somebody saying, fam, you're late. Hey, get to class, right? They give you all these boundary lines. You can go to the bathroom, but you only got 5 minutes. Bring that key back. Bring that wooden law back. You only got 2-3 minutes. There's still boundaries in high school. Now, there are a little looser boundaries than it was in middle school, right? In middle school, they're a little looser than it was in elementary, right? Elementary, you had naps. Middle school, hopefully you don't, right? So it's like, it's a little looser once you get to high school. But fam, when you get to college, you are an adult, whether you want to be or not. There's no bell going off when you're late for class. Guess what? That professor starts right on time. If class was at 9, he starts at 9. If you don't show up, he does not care. Because you paid for the class. He doesn't care whether you show up all semester. Because you're paying for it. Sally Mae, whoever you got is paying for it. He's not responsible. He gets paid for teaching the class. He does not care if you sleep through the class. Why? Because the boundary lines in college are way easier, right? They're way looser. You wanted free will? You wanted to do what you want? Guess what? College, you can do what you want. You're not coming and knocking on the door and saying, hey, fam, you weren't in class today. They don't care. You could have partied all night, smoke your weed, and don't come to class. Because at the end of the day, when you are in college, you are paid for that. Your parents are paying for that. They do not care. They don't care so much, they'll give you a professor that doesn't even speak English. I'll be teaching you. And you'll have to pay for it. They don't care. It's like you're responsible. Because pretty much you're teaching yourself. In so many words, that's what you're doing. Somebody's there, but you're responsible for learning. You're responsible. And on that day when they give you that test in college, say you fail, fam. They don't care. They don't care at all. No one's giving you a note that says study more. No one's coming saying, hey, I'll be your study buddy. Unless you have friends. No one. You are an adult and you are responsible. So what do you have to do in college? You have to step up. One of the greatest things you learn, and this is why most people fail in college, because it's like you got to be mature. If your parents didn't raise you right, it's going to come out. If mom did every single thing for you, folded your drawers, did all that, when you come to college, you're going to have a hard time because mom ain't going to be there. And if she show up, it's just weird every single day, right? You don't know how to do laundry? Go come out. You don't know how to cook no noodles? Go come out, right? All of that's going to come out. You missed the time they have lunch? Don't care. Comes here, close. No opening up special for you because you missed it. Nope, you're on your own, fam. You ain't got no car? Guess what? You're on your own, right? What is it preparing you? You're a freshman year. The reason they say it's so hard is because you're having to adjust to being under the wings to now being out there by yourself and having to figure out. And yeah, the parents are there for a little bit, but eventually you get in your own group, right? You come at home every summer, and then eventually it's like, I got it, I'm good, right? I don't have to come home. Then, when you go from college to having your own spot outside of college, way different, right? Way different. Ain't nobody really showing up saying show the work. So it's like, if you oversleep, guess what? You're fired. Sorry, we got somebody else. It's 2023. We got plenty of people to hire. It's not the same anymore. And you're like, hey, I don't get no pass. No pass, fam. We already interviewing somebody else, right? We done told you a few times. Now we tired of you. Bye. That's just the way it goes, right? Because they have plenty of options now in 2023. Now, I'm going to tie it into your spiritual. When you first get saved, you're in elementary, right? You're a baby. Jesus is trying to keep you encouraged. So you say them little raggedy prayers, and he be like, all right, here you go. And you be like, oh, every time I pray, it's like he just blesses me. He's just trying to keep you encouraged as a baby Christian. He's just trying to keep you focused. You came from the streets. Now you coming to him. He's got to keep you encouraged, right? You crying, he still answers your prayer. You weeping, he's just still there, right? You like red light, green light, turn green, green for you. Because you're a baby. He's trying to keep you. Then you go to middle school as a Christian, right? Then you're in middle school and it's a little different, right? You pray, he's like, okay, he taking a little longer than what he normally do to answer my prayers. And it's not that he doesn't love you. He's just trying to grow you up. That's why Paul said, should you remain on milk forever? No. At some point, you should go to meat. At some point, you should have a T-bone, right? So here you go in middle school Christianity. And so now God is not just so quick. Now, it may require a little fasting. See, you in elementary, you didn't have to fast. You fast because you just wanted to. But really, God was just answering your stuff so quick. You wasn't even really going through anything in elementary. He was just shielding you. Angels were just, right? And you got used to that. Then when you're in middle school, it's like angels like, oh, one little dart got through. And you're like, whoa, hey, what happened? Why? Because God's got to condition you that there is pain in Christianity. He's got to condition you that it's not going to always be easy. You're going to have to grow up spiritually, right? So you start enduring some stuff. When you go from middle school to high school in spirituality, it's way hard. You now got to fast. You now got to pray. You now got to couple with some other people to fight them demons you're now facing. You not even realize you got demons. See, in elementary, you thought you was just an angel. You thought there was nothing. You actually thought all that stuff was gone. You thought once you got saved, it just all disappeared. And I'm the nicest, most lovingest person ever. I look like Jesus, right? Then when you got in middle school, your attitude started coming back. And you start realizing like that flesh hadn't truly been crucified with Christ. Once you get in high school, the old you start really trying to rise up, right? If you haven't been really crucifying it and you kind of been in fairy tale land, that old you start trying to rise up again. Those demons that have been there start making their way. Why? Because you've been growing and they don't like that. So they start manifesting like, hey, I'm still here, fam. I ain't went nowhere. That rejection right here, what's up? And in all what's happening is God is growing you up spiritually. And in growing you up spiritually, what most of us try to do is what? Hey, is there any room still in elementary? Is there any room? I like when I was taking naps. I like when I had to deal with all this. I like when Mrs. Johnson gave me an apple and she sat right next to me when I was crying. Fam, you were in high school. You were not in elementary. And matter of fact, you prayed for it. So it's like God starts elevating you. And as he elevates you, there are challenges with every elevation. There are demonic spirits assigned to every elevation. There are different things you're going to deal with every elevation. But guess what? There are also blessings assigned with elevation. There are also angels assigned with elevation. There are certain realms you get into. There's an automatic where angels are coming to you. So there's all these things that are both good and challenging, because I'm not going to say bad, that go with elevation. It would be no different than when you join a church. It's the same way. You didn't like Shady Oaks, right? It was hard, and they was sleepy and drinking. And you was like, God, if you get me out of here, the next church, I'm going to give my all. And so you come to Wildfire, right? And you decided you were going to give your all, but then you come here and realize you jacked up. And then all of a sudden, it's like, I don't know that I want to give my all. It's just a lot. I feel overwhelmed, Apostle. This is a lot to deal with. And it's really not. You just never really had to face you. You just really never had to deal with you. And so when you come here, the first thing people always say is, this is the Lord. First, they're all excited. Oh, this, I love this. It's fire. It's great. Then they get in a little bit, and then it's like, this is a lot. This is a lot. And we see the same patterns. They come in, they're all super excited. This is great. I love this. This is the main pastor. I love it. Oh, my God. I'm looking for a church like this. It's so great. And we see the same patterns. And then they're so excited. And then the next Sunday, after a couple Sundays they've been here, Then all of a sudden they dodge her. She's like, hey, Alicia. No, not here. Because it's the same patterns. It's the same patterns. Because what the enemy's doing now is he's trying to wear them out. Wear them out. What you got to learn is how to face, just like, and you're capable of it. That's why you went through, hopefully you went through the systems, right? Elementary, middle school. You're capable of it. Some of you were promoted on your job. That tells you you're capable of the next level. Some of you were not parents. Then you became parents. That tells you you're capable of being promoted. Even if you didn't finish high school. If you've been elevated in any level, that tells you you're capable of being able to handle it. Now, whether you handle it or not is on you. But the capacity is within you. The ability is within you. The potential is within you. Now, whether you do it or not is you. When we say we want marriage, that's still a promotion. So there's new challenges that go with that. So if you don't learn how to do it in the spiritual, you're going to really struggle when it comes to other things, parenting, husband, wife, because you're still going to have that running mentality. You're still going to have that go back in the cave mentality. So somewhere, and I said this to someone this week, somewhere you got to face it. Somewhere you got to suck it up and be like, you know what? I'm not running no more. I'm not going back in the cave no more. I'm just going to face. This may be hard, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to suck it up and really become the man of God. I'm going to suck it up and really become the woman of God. I'm going to suck it up and really face my issues. Yes, it's hard to write down all the negative things about you. But isn't it great that if you start dealing with that, somebody else don't have to deal with it? It kind of sucks to get married and be like, hey, this would come with me. Negro, I don't want this. Why didn't you deal with this in your singlehood? This is what come with me. Take it or leave it. Well, these are things you could change. These are things you could change. This is small compared to some of the stuff y'all be like, hey, this what come with me. Take it or leave it. It's all me. It's a lot. All this come with you. And my question is going to be like, what'd you do when you were single? What was you doing out there? If you 30, what have you been doing? Some of that could have been cut down. That could at least be half. Once you decided you wanted to be married, at least you could have chopped that down a little bit. And it is unfair when we don't face challenges to be like, you just deal with what makes me me. No, I'm not. We're going to be right in this courting phase for a while. So I see that go to at least a quarter. At least. Because it's unfair that I worked on me. This stuff people don't want to talk about. It's unfair that I got my stuff down to this. This ain't even a lot to deal with. It's unfair that I deal with my stuff. And it's unfair that you come in with this law. That's why I say we have to learn how to face challenges. We have to learn how to be promoted. We have to learn how to say, God, yes, I do want this. Now prepare me for what you have placed on my life. Now prepare me for where you're saying for me to go. We have to. If you do not learn this, listen, every time God elevates you, more money, more people in your life, the same patterns will manifest. The same patterns. Ooh, it's so hard. I don't want to deal with this. You're going to be the same way when you get married. He's a lot. She's a lot. I don't want to deal with this. Same way, same identical stuff. It's going to manifest. So what God does is he trains you. He's preparing you. All through high school, middle school, all that, it's just preparing you. It's preparing you for life. None of us, unless you went into something with history, none of us use that. I don't know the last time I was like, oh, well, back in 1902. I don't remember, fam. All of it's gone. I don't remember calculus. I don't remember none of that stuff because I don't use it every day. But you know what I look at school for? The discipline. The discipline is what school taught me. The discipline to stay committed to something when I didn't want to. The discipline when I wanted to sleep and not have to go to school. I made myself get up and go to school. School taught me discipline. Now, if you didn't learn it, then you missed it. But that's what it did. It taught me discipline. If I can go to high school and I didn't want to, if I can go to college and I didn't want to, guess what? What happened when I went to that job that I didn't want to go? I made myself get up and go. Because school taught me discipline. And discipline bypasses your feelings. You don't go to the gym because you're like, oh my God, it's so exciting, 5 a.m. to work out. No, you go because of discipline. I don't feel like it, but I discipline my body to go, right? School teaches you discipline. It teaches you how to be open to stuff that you already feel like you're never going to use. It teaches you how to be flexible. So there are principles that's beyond just the textbook. It teaches you, and this is what, when I worked in college, what I would tell people, it teaches you how to interact with different races. Now, some of y'all didn't learn it because you had cliques. But it teaches you, white, black, Japanese, male, female. It teaches you how to interact with different people. That's all it is. That prepares you for what? Life. Because on your job, you may be the only person. You may be, right? It may be a whole bunch of folks, and you're the singular person. But you learn how to deal with different races in high school, in college. So it prepares you. Different attitudes. The bus, different attitude, different people. Now some of us are a little more hard-headed and we didn't learn it. We just fought. But hopefully you graduated past that, and then you learned it as you got out on your own. All of this is to prepare you for life. But if you don't get the principles, you'll take the same patterns you had in high school and middle school and college, and you'll have the same patterns as an adult. Same patterns. You don't like it, you run. You don't like it, you tired. You don't like it, you go back to bed. You don't like it, you pull the covers. Let me know how long that works. Let me know how long they keep you hired. I don't feel like coming in today. Okay. Let me know how long that works. A couple times they're going to be like, oh, okay. They're not feeling well? Oh, I won't lie. I'm just not coming in today. Okay. Let me know how long that works. See, in college, they give you a pass for that. When you're in real life, they give you a pass, all right? Hey, man, don't even worry about coming in. Oh, okay, you got it. Yep, got it. Don't worry about it at all. Check your email. What do you mean check my email? We sent you a little something to your email. You're good. It's called fired. See you later. We're finding someone else who can actually show up to work, who can actually be here. It doesn't work like that. That works when you were younger. That does not work when you're an adult. Make sense? All right, cool. We're talking about today financial plan. This is, someone tell me the difference between a budget and a financial plan. What would be the difference? Because we talked about budgeting before. What's the difference between budgeting and a financial plan? Come on, Nikki. Yes. Your budget is your immediate. Your once a month, twice a month, 3 times a month, however you get paid, whatever's coming through, food stamps, whatever, you know. Or your financial plan is 1 to 5 years out. Some people make longer ones. I think not to make too long. Because a lot of stuff can change in 10 years. So a good financial plan is 1 to 3 years out. But there are some people that do 5, right? A good one is 1 to 3 because that can be manageable and things change. You can get married, got kids, kids move out. So 1 to 5 years. Proverbs 21:5. It says, the plans of the diligent leads to profit as surely as haste leads to poverty. I'll read that in the Passion Translation because I feel like it conveys it more. It says, brilliant ideas, Proverbs 21:5. Brilliant ideas pay off and bring you prosperity. But making hasty, impatient decisions will only lead to financial loss. Let me say that again. Brilliant ideas pays off and brings you prosperity. But making hasty, impatient decisions will only lead to financial loss. All of us know what this is like. You get that lump sum of money, and the first thing you do is think about all the stuff you want to buy. And then some just go to just buy. Or you get the lump sum of money, and you're like, oh, I got enough money, I could just invest in this. You didn't include the Lord, you didn't ask him, and that hasty decision caused you financial loss. You jumped on the bandwagon with culture, and everybody was investing in cryptocurrency, and then you lost all that money. And it's because you didn't invite God in, and you were making a hasty, impatient decision. The Bible says it like this, another way, be anxious for nothing. But in everything by prayer and supplication, bring your request or make your request known unto the Lord. So this rule that I just gave in Proverbs 21:5, it pretty much sums up everything that we have talked about. Budgeting, financial planning, saving for emergencies. They're all different ways for you to use wisdom and be a good steward over your finances. By now, you should have a budget because we talked about that several weeks ago, right? By now, you should have a certain amount of money that you're putting away for emergencies. I don't care if it's $2. Something should be going in another account where you're not touching it. So if you have a tire blowout, if you have something, if your engine go out, you have the ability to get it fixed. And you're not strapped in having to take out a loan. If you do, that's fine, but you got a plan for not having to do that. Am I making sense? So the last part of this, summing up like what I'm talking about, being a good steward over your finances, we started with tithes, offering, and first fruits and sacrificial offerings. Now, I don't think we hit first fruits. We'll hit that another day. But then we come into now where we're ending it, and we have one more after this, and then I have another financial I'm going to teach. Is a financial plan. Every good financial plan has 3 steps. The first one is identify your goals. It is much easier to convince yourself to save and to invest when you have clear, concise goals of what you're saving for, right? So, depending on where you are in life, your financial goals could be paying off student loans. Some of you just open minded, wipes that $10,000, like me. It could be buying your first home. It could be, like for me, my goal is to be able to have a trust fund for my kids. Right? That when they hit 18, they automatically get this amount of money. So some of you could be saving for that, financing your kids, financing their college education. Some of you could be saving for a retirement. Some of you need a car. Like wherever you are in life, you have to identify financial goals according to where you want to be. We're not just talking about the next month. Remember, we're talking about 1 to 3 years or 1 to 5 years. So you write down your personal goals, your personal financial goals, right? Then you go back and look at them from time to time to see if they're changed or you need to modify them. Every person in this room should have at least a 1-year goal. Where do you want to see yourself this time next year? And don't be putting bogus stuff down. You know you, right? If you know you don't save, you don't save. So just putting $5 in the account for 12 months. What does that look like? See, don't put $5,000 by the end of the year and you already know you're not going to save. So you got to write down clear, concise goals that you want to meet in that 1 to 3 or 1 to 5 year plan. If you can't think 5 years out, you at least need to have a 1-year goal, right? Number 2 is evaluate your situation currently. I said this to a couple this week that I was counseling. You got to evaluate where you are. Right? And in the area of finances, you have to evaluate your current financial situation. Because evaluating you gives you a good picture. Can I maintain where I'm at and with my financial goals the next year? Or do I need a different job? Or do I need to add DoorDash? Or do I need to add Amazon? Do I need to add something else? Okay, we said we want to buy a house. We are not just a hope and a prayer here. We are actually looking at how do I put my feet to what we say we want. What does that look like? Right? I'll give you an example. If you say we want to buy a house and we want a $15,000 down payment, right? We want a house that's 250 and above, right? And so we know we need to have $15,000 to $20,000 down payment. Okay, we're in April. What does that look like to have that next year? What does that look like? And see, this is why we don't get what we say we want. Because it's like we don't look at it like that. We go on a hope and a prayer. I'm just believing by faith. Next year that money gonna be in the account. Could be or could not be. Right? So we are walking by faith, but I'm a big fan of putting feet to your faith. Right? You do believe God, but then you gotta put feet to your faith, right? So if I want to buy a house, then what does that look like? How much money do I save? If I want to buy a car, what does that look like? You put a plan. The next 6 months, I want to buy a car for $5,000, $10,000. What does that look like? You may have to DoorDash. You may have to Amazon. You may have to do a little grocery delivery thing. You may have to do some other things. There are plenty of options right now, right? And if I say that you're like, I don't want to be inconvenienced, then stop saying what you want. Because sometimes to get where we say we want to go, we've got to have faith, but we also have to put feet to our faith. I remember at one time, I wanted to save X amount of money, and I wanted my credit to be a certain number. And so I was working my full-time job, and I was delivering Amazon packages, right? At night, I was delivering Amazon packages all day Saturdays. I would start sometimes in downtown. Sometimes they would have, now Amazon a little ridiculous. Sometimes they would have me out past McKinney, all out in the boonies delivering packages, right? But what I calculated is at that time, that was a couple years ago, at that time, if you did Amazon, you were making about $25 to $30 an hour. So if I took a 3-hour shift, that was a good, easy, quick $100 I made. So I would take 2 of those, sometimes 3 of those, and I would make between $300 and $500 a Saturday. So $500 a Saturday, 4 Saturdays, that's an extra $2,000, right? Now you have to save because Amazon ain't taking no taxes out, and you know Uncle Sam gonna get his when you do taxes. So I had to save taxes or take out a certain amount because they're gonna take it. That's $2,000, and I was working just Saturdays. Then there came a point where I was like, oh, this is easy. I think I'll also Uber as well. And so there I was in my little car Ubering, right? And I did that for a week. Somebody sneezed, and I decided I didn't want to do it anymore because you ain't gonna be sneezing all over the backseat of my car. And so I got out of that real quick. But what I'm saying is you have to evaluate where you are and then evaluate how do you get to the goals that you have identified. Sometimes that may be taking another job. Sometimes that may not be. Sometimes the Lord may be saying stick to this one and then go interview to get something paying higher, right? Do not take it in your own hands. Remember what I said when we started this is inviting God in to what you were doing. So as you make your goals, be Holy Spirit led. Don't be just putting things like, I want to buy 4 acres of land here, there, everywhere. Like, it's got to be realistic. And then you have to have faith. But you need a financial plan. You need your financial plan somewhere in your phone, tablet, that you can easily access it and you can be looking it over. That's going to help you stay focused when you want to go buy this, when you want to go do this, when you want to spend this, when you're out here 5-star and you need to be a 3-star, right? That's going to help you because you're going to look at that financial plan and say, okay, I take my budget. I only got $100 for entertainment, right? Or whatever yours is. So I can't go over that because then I'm looking at my financial plan and I'm saying, this is where I'm going. This is where I'm headed. Am I making sense? All right. So when we look at evaluating your situation, you're determining your current net worth, how much you're earning, how much you're spending, and what kind of return are you going to get on your investments, even looking at your assets. What do you have that's worth something? Right? Then, as you evaluate your situation, step number 3 is now list steps to take. How are you going to get to your financial plan? How are you going to get there? Right? So you identify your goals, evaluate your situation. Number 3 is list the steps it takes to get you there. If you get in school and you're like, you know what? I really don't want these student loans, right? So what does that look like? Taking one class at a time and paying off that one class. Okay, it's $100 a credit hour, $50, whatever. Some of them like $350. You know, what does that look like? If I take one class, I need $2,000 or $3,000. I don't want student loans. So I'm just going to take this one class until I get in a financial position to be able to take more. right? Some people are okay with student loans. I'm not. I think they're the devil. So it's like, if I know what I knew now, I would have never taken any out, right? I didn't know. Nobody's teaching me. But that's why I teach younger, young adults this stuff. It's like, if you can do it, listen, get a grant, get your parents, get an extra job, take one class at a time. Because you don't want $100,000 in student loans, or 50, or 40, or 75. It's not good, and it weighs on your credit. It's like a mortgage. It takes up a good percentage of your credit, and it's revolving. It's just sitting there. So it's like, it can kill your credit, even though you have nothing else, right? Because it has such weight. So when you go to get a mortgage, they're going to look at it. It's going to be like, well, you got $100,000 in student loans. That's a lot of debt, and you only make $50,000. So they look at you as what? A high risk. So it's what I'm saying. Like, it's why I teach more now. Like, you need to get rid of the debt. You need to get rid of it. Unless you have the money to just pay cash for your house, or pay cash for what you say you want, you've got to work at eliminating debt, right? Not taking on more credit cards, not taking on more JCPenney's and Victoria's Secrets. Why do you think they send you that stuff? Because they know. It's once you see it, most of us cannot just rip it up. Now I rip it up. But most of us are gonna, pre-approve. Let me just go ahead and try. I mean, say it ain't gonna hit my credit. They bank on that. Because they approve you, and then boom, you got another card. And you ain't just going to let it sit there. So they bank on that stuff. So again, now I list the steps. What does it take? You know where you want to go. What does it take to get there? If you have kids, you need to include your kids in your financial plan. Listen, don't just let them be out there trying to make it on their own. I truly believe every parent should set their kids up financially for success. I believe it. If your parents didn't do it, that's okay. But I believe you should do it. I do. I believe your kids. I'm not saying buy them a Porsche. I'm not a fan of that, right? But you should set them up for success. They should not be going to college and you're like, hey, man, you on your own. You got it? All right, here's some noodles. Here's some, water. And you got it. Get you a job. You good. It's like, I really feel like that's very stressful. I worked in college, higher ed for 22 years. It is very stressful when a young adult that's 18 goes to college, and then they have to get a job, a full-time job, and focus on their schooling. It's hard. Most of them flunk out. And I believe we should set our kids up, even if you just give them a couple thousand. Or like, hey, every month I'm giving you 1,000. So you'll be good. You have to start planning that. That's why I said it really is demonic when the enemy starts getting us to waste money. Waste our finances on eating out all the time. Waste our finances on gambling. Waste it on investments that we don't even know if it's going to work out. It's demonic because if you think about, right now, think about the past 5 years, how much you've eaten now. Think of how much money you can have. Think of how much money you can give your kids. And I don't care if you're like, well, they don't deserve it. I don't care. Because think about like what it would have been like for you if you just had a little something that set you up for success. Just a little something to help you out, right? It would have been better. So then, now that we know that, we have to do better. Make sense? We got to do better, right? And I'm not saying every parent. There are some parents that definitely set their kids up. But I'm saying if yours didn't, like you didn't get any and I'm not talking about spiritual, because a lot of our parents were spiritual. I'm talking about money, like actual cash. Like, what did you leave me? Money. What did you give me? Debt. Right? Most of our parents did not teach us financial things. They didn't know. So they can teach you what they don't know. Right? And so, I hate to say this, but it's true. I've studied this stuff so much. It is not that way most of the time in Caucasian households. I've studied this statistically. It's that way mostly in minority households. Most of the time in Caucasian, they're sitting them down, talking to them about wealth, finances, things like that. So it's like, we got to do better, right? We know better, we got to do better. And you can't just eat it away and throw it away and shop it away, right? We got to do better. And that's why when people sit down with me for budgeting, they don't like it. Because I'm like, well, how much you bringing in? Well, boss, I got $250. That's a lot. Okay. $250? All right, let's see what we're doing. What you spending? Oh, right there, that $5 got to go. Well, why'd you buy them socks? You have socks. You don't need those socks. Oh, they're cute, but you didn't need them. Because you can budget on $10. We just don't want to because it's easier just to blow it because it's like, it's not that much money. But when you have a financial plan, you won't blow it. Am I making sense? All right, I'll say this last statement and I'm done for today. Next week, we'll talk about something different. Without a financial plan, it's easy to drift through life, earning and spending money with no real thought for your future. Writing out a financial plan, checking in every few months to see whether you're on track, helps you ensure you that what you want out of life, you are on the path to get it. The other thing I would say is teach your kids this stuff. Teach them, right? All my godchildren, nieces, I teach them this. I don't care how old they are, right? We start very young. Give me that dollar. No, I don't give it to you. Give me that dollar, right? We're teaching them how to give first. Then we teach them how to save. We teach them how to spend. Kids are so easy to teach this stuff because they want money. It's so easy. You put them on a reward system, and they want money. They want things. So you teach them this, right? I'll use Maya. You can get my stuff. I'll use Maya. I have no doubt that Maya is going to be a good steward over her finances as she becomes an adult. Because we start talking about money very young, right? And she quickly learned. First, she got to give, so she pays her tithes off her allowance, right? No tithe, no allowance. I'm not giving you nothing, right? And this is only me as her godmom giving her money, right? You give your tithes. I need to see it hit that cash app, right? You don't get no money. That's how is that not how I am? Okay. I checked. I didn't see your tithes come through this. Because we have the teacher. She's 15. She has to learn this now, right? Then we started with the tug of war with money. Hey, Maya, can I have $20? Oh, keep it, fam. You can have it. No, you can have it. Nope, you can have it. That's yours. You didn't want to give it to me. You keep it. Right? And she didn't. At first, she didn't want to. And then it would be like somebody else would be like, hey, Richard, give me it. He'd be like, here. And I'm like, all right, here, Richard, it's 30. She'd be like, what? Ah! Right? Then it's like, we played that because what am I teaching her? What's in your hands is small compared to what's in my hands. So open your hands, and what I ask for, give it to me freely. So then it's like, I'm like, at the Easter egg, I ran out of money. And Maya had 25. I said, hey, Maya, give me the money. Let me have it. She was like, oh, you know me. Right? I'm in the car, and I'm like, here, Maya, here's $40 for your 25. Because she already knows the principle. She already gets it. What's in the adult's hand is way bigger than what's in your hands. What am I teaching Maya? What's in God's hands is way bigger, Maya, than what's in your hands. So when God asks for it, give it to him. When God asks for it, give it to him. We're already teaching her that. We're already training her, right? I'm already training her. The same way I do my other guys and the same way I do my nieces. Let me have your sucker. Give it to me. We're teaching them. We're teaching them at a young age, right? And so it's like the principle is when Maya gets $1,000 and God says, I don't want you to just give tithes. I want you to give more. Maya won't be stingy because Maya learned this at 15. So you have to train your kids. If we know better, we have to do better. We can't just teach them the same way our parents taught us. If you know better, you got to do better, right? You got to teach them. If you just let them blow the $10 you gave them, you're teaching them nothing, right? You get a bank account. No, you're not getting this debit card. What do you want? You only got 10, fam. You had candy last week. No. You got to teach them that stuff. You got to teach them those principles. Am I making sense? So make a financial plan. If you have one, great. Make sure you're looking over it. Make sure you're revamping it. Wherever you are, you've got to set the plans of where you want to go financially. If you got extra money coming in, that's not extra money. It's allocated to something. Yes. What should it be allocated to? I'm trying to retrain your mind. She's like, oh, I made 2 shirts. That's just extra money. That's not extra money. Where's that money supposed to go? What is it supposed to be going into? You have a financial plan. If you don't look at it, then it becomes just wasteful. Then don't complain when you broke next year. Don't complain when it's like, well, God keep blessing me, right? But you keep frivolously spending. Sooner or later, that little favor gonna dry up. then you're going to be crying. So it's like what we're trying to teach is you don't have. That's why I don't let everybody borrow money. Oh, I don't lie. It is allocated. I'm sorry. Ah, man, if I had it, I would. But I don't have it. Then you just get paid. Right, man, but it's already allocated. And I'm not lying because I have a real budget. I have real stuff that is allocated to. My savings may not be good for you, but it's good for me. Me planning for my kids' futures may not seem like a big deal for you, but it's a big deal for me. That's the way I look at it. So it's like when people hit me up for money, I'm like, man, dude, you know, if I had it, I would. But I ain't got it. No, boss, I know. No, I ain't got it. I really don't got it. My savings is an allocation. Washing my car is a part of my entertainment. So my money's already allocated. So it's like I would let you borrow 50, but I really don't got it. And if I got a bonus, it's allocated. I'm sorry. There's nothing there left to give to you. The only way it becomes left for you is if the Lord tells me to pull something. Then I'm like, oh, fam, I got it. Because he tells me. Remember that. Because what people forget is where you give, you sow. That's why I don't give everybody money. If you got a gambling addiction, I'm not giving you my money. Why? Now, you bad with your money. And then you want to take my good-earned money and waste it. I'm not giving it to you. Because the way I look at it is you're already bad with your money. What you're going to do with my money is waste it. Right? I don't fall for the DM tricks. They're starting to get old now. People just sit there. You're the apostle. Me and my 500 kids have nothing. We have nothing. Like, at first my heartstrings would be pulled. Then I started realizing folks was doing it all the time. You're a pastor. I had a lady literally call me on Facebook. See my kids? They ain't got no. Ma'am, you did that right before the call. Because it's like they'll use that and then they'll get on Facebook and post pictures of them at the club. So it's like that stuff don't pull on my heartstrings. What pulls on my heartstrings is when the Lord tells me to use my money. Then I know that God got me. Does that make sense? So, Father, we thank you this morning for this class. We thank you for teaching us about financial planning. Father, I pray that we would utilize it. I pray that we would take what we have learned and put it into practice. I pray, God, that no longer will we give where you have not told us to give. No longer will we pay people's bills where you have not told us to do it. Father, I pray that we would yield this area to you and that every bit of money you give us, may we ask you what to do with it. Father, thank you for what you're doing over this class. I pray that the wealth of the Lord will find us, but I pray that we will be good stewards over that which you blessed us with. In Jesus' name, amen.